So we're officially live, and now I'll hand it over to Carmen so that she and Dave can walk us through an intro to Jupyter Notebooks. Go ahead, Carmen.
Hi, good morning. My name's Carmen Van Ukerk. I am a trainer for our group in Analytics and AI Solutions Group. And I just put together this 101 Intro to Jupyter Notebooks training session to sort of promote adoption of this really great interactive development tool, and to sort of share the learnings that we have come across as we've been coming to become more familiar with this tool ourselves. So my background is actually in the digital analytics space, and I have been learning a lot more about the data science world, and in part of that we have been exploring the usage of Jupyter Notebooks. So we're going to go ahead and share our learnings here today. Dave, would you like to say anything? Or shall I just get started? Okay, well,
Sorry,
Dave's actually going to be...
Go ahead and get started.
Sure. Yeah, okay. And Dave will actually be doing a follow-up session after this. So who is Jupyter Notebooks for? Jupyter Notebooks is a tool that is being widely used by scientific institutions at the moment to share and explain their research and their results in an easily reproducible fashion. So for example, LIGO, which is the observatory that detected gravitational waves back in 2015, they have used Jupyter Notebooks to present their findings and share with everyone. So if you take a look here, you'll be able to see their documentation and their analysis. You can actually see pieces of code that you yourself can execute. And so it's just, Jupyter Notebooks is just a very easy way to reproduce scientific calculations and communicate findings amongst the community. So now, if you guys wanted to, I actually created this training with the purpose of it being interactive. So while I'm talking or after this session, if anybody wants, you can go ahead and follow along through some of these exercises by installing Anaconda on your machine. I've gone ahead and provided a link here. And I'm just going to pass into the chat window this little bit.ly URL so that folks can download these files. So they're just a few files that contain exercises on, and I'll just go ahead and put that in the chat window. Let me know if you guys can see it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and put it into the chat window, the little bit.ly URL. And so that URL actually will take you to our GitHub, which contains a Jupyter Intro Exercises Python notebook and a few other little files to play with. So Jupyter Notebooks is, it was formerly known as IPython Notebook. Jupyter Notebooks is actually the third version of IPython. Jupyter stands for Julia, Python, and R. And the premise or the creation of this notebook came about, of this tool actually came about from taking Galileo's method of documenting his observations about on the Jupiter's moons. And he published his observations in the Starry Messenger, so back in 1610. And so his method of communicating the information is kind of the uh, the method that they're employing here, or in the usage of Jupyter Notebooks. So Jupyter Notebooks is a front-end interface that essentially is promoting documentation and collaboration, all in an interactive web development environment. And it will combine, as you can see, explanatory text, mathematical computations, and rich media output. So you can actually see the output of your executed code all in one document, which makes it very easy for you to play around and just execute only portions of the code, encouraging people to explore and share knowledge. So amongst the uses of the notebook, you can use it for data cleansing and numerical simulation and statistical modeling, machine learning, and many, many other uses. So I'm just going to go here to my Jupyter Notebook dashboard. Now, Jupyter Notebooks they support over 40 languages. Python, R, and Julia are just a few of them. The usage of the notebooks can vary from a wide range of different activities, and the notebooks can leverage the usage of Apache Spark for big data integration, and the fact that you can easily share these notebooks via email or GitHub, and there's built-in version control, makes it a great collaborative tool. And especially since you get to actually visualize in real time the data manipulations, and you can easily use, embed JavaScript and videos and images to explain the project and the different problems that you're working on. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys this entire Jupyter Intro exercises notebook that I created is using HTML. It's using embedded functions to execute code. We're using in it also examples of mathematical notation, using LaTeX and rendering natively MathJax. So we're going to go ahead and show you guys in this exercise many different ways of creating documentation and displaying your work in this particular Jupyter Notebook exercise. So let's see here. Back to our dashboard really quickly. If you guys wanted to upload a new notebook, you go to this upload button here on the right-hand side, which will give you the option of selecting a notebook to upload. You can also create a new notebook quite easily by clicking on this new drop-down button, and it gives you the option of creating a notebook in a language of your choice. So by default, the notebooks are Python, and therefore if you actually wanted to use a different language, you can, but there is a one-to-one relationship with the language of a notebook and the language of the kernel that you have created. So essentially you can have many other kernels for different languages, but there is a one-to-one relationship with that notebook and the language of the kernel. There are ways of getting around that by using magic functions, but we won't get into that since this is a very basic one-on-one overview of Jupyter Notebooks. So let me take you guys here. When you take a look at your Jupyter Notebook, you'll notice some very familiar icons in this toolbar, and they are basically what you would expect. So a save button, a save and checkpoint, which is actually very handy. This goes back to our version control options. So if you save and create a checkpoint, that just means that you can revert back to a checkpoint at some point in time. So I created a checkpoint earlier at 10:20 a.m. And if I wanted to, I could go back to it, but a word of advice is that if you do create a checkpoint and you revert back to it, there's no way of undoing that. So it's a pretty permanent decision if you wanted to go back to a checkpoint in time. But yeah, so there's that save option, but just bear in mind that it also creates a checkpoint. This plus sign will insert a cell, and I'll show you guys what those cells do in a moment. And then we have some copy and paste and cut icons here, which will cut and paste the different cells in the notebook as well. These up and down arrows will move the cells around, and the stop and play button will essentially execute code. So we'll run a snippet of code, and we'll stop a snippet of, we'll interrupt the kernel. So we'll just go ahead and get started here in just a second. So just one more thing about the Jupyter Notebook files. So all Jupyter Notebook documents have this IPYNB file extension, and they will, when you open the document, as you can see, it's kind of intended to be an explanatory document with executable code and rich text elements. So it's just the intention is to be able to uniquely present and communicate the work that you're developing and working on in an easy to understand fashion. So these documents are internally JSON files, and therefore they can be seen and rendered in web browsers or opened up on local machines. So right now, if I go to my GitHub file, to my GitHub, and I click on this Jupyter Intro Exercises file, it goes ahead and renders the entire notebook in my browser as HTML. So that's kind of nice, and kind of the way that the LIGO Observatory presented their Python notebook. They actually saved their notebook as an HTML file. And so the versatility of how you can share and distribute your work is pretty vast. You can share it as an HTML file or as a PDF, or retain the original format as well and just distribute it via email or Dropbox or GitHub. So as you can see, it's very flexible. So bearing in mind that the purpose of this tool is to facilitate communication and collaboration, I did provide these documents for you guys in GitHub, and I do encourage you guys to follow along, but if you can't, no worries. We're going to go pretty slow one by one through each one of these exercises. So each notebook has an interactive session connected to the kernel. So as you can see, I have one notebook here in my dashboard that is actually running, and you'll notice that it says running next to it. If I wanted to, if I tick this box on the left-hand side, I can I have the option to duplicate my notebook, I have the option to shut it down, and I also have the option to delete it. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and create a little new notebook, which is very easy to do. I just clicked on New, and then voila, a new notebook has been created for me. By default, it's Python, and I just go ahead and change the name, Carmen's Notebook, say OK. And then if I go back to my dashboard, I'll see it appear, and as you can see on the right-hand side, once again, it says that it is running. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tick this box, and I'm going to shut it down. So I've just shut down my kernel, and then immediately the little notebook icon turns gray, and there is no longer a running indicator on the right-hand side. So now I'm going to go ahead and just delete this notebook to keep a nice clean dashboard workspace. And there we go. I've gone ahead and deleted it. So back to my running notebook. See it, and it remains running even if I go ahead and, so let me just close this. Oops. I close that window, that tab. It is still running even though I close the tab. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my notebook again. And one of the main advantages of using these notebooks is that you can choose how you want to explain and document your code. So do you want to use Markdown? Do you want to use HTML? Do you want to embed an image or a video or use some mathematical equations? You have all of those options. And there is, and I'll share some resource links at the end of this presentation that will give you in detail all of those different options. So we're going to go and run through some very basic exercises to show you guys just how easy this is. So, this is a self-contained 101 exercise notebook, so it should walk you through step by step. So in this example, we're going to go ahead and create a cell and execute the following print hello world line of code. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a cell above, and I'm going to copy this line of code, paste it in the cell. As you can see, the cell that's active will be bordered by a green line, okay? And then to the left of the cell are these brackets. So the brackets right now are empty, but they will have a indication that a cell is running by showing an asterisk during the time that that cell is running. When the cell has completed, has finished executing the code within it, it will display a number. So I'm going to go ahead and push the play button to run the cell that I've selected. So it's going to run this green cell. And there we go. It has printed hello world, and now you see it's got a number within the brackets indicating that it has completed. So now I'm going to show you guys how to insert a cell below. So I'm inserting a cell below the instructions to perform some basic mathematics. And I'm going to copy the code, paste it into the cell, and hit the play button, and voila. It's gone ahead and executed and printed the code below, and once again, the next cell, there is a number indicating that the cell has finished running and it's complete, and immediately after that, the next cell is highlighted. Now, since I did create the steps in cells, this particular cell right here that I have highlighted is a markdown cell. So if I double click on it, you get to see the HTML code that I used to write that instruction. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the Run button again. And once again, you can see the rendered HTML code. But if I wanted to edit the cell, I just double click on it and I get to see my HTML code again and alter it as I see fit. So step 3 is to insert a cell above to describe the code. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So insert cell above. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you guys, you can select the type of cell you wanted to create, whether you wanted it to be code, whether you wanted it to be a heading or markdown or raw NB convert. So in this particular case, I'm going to go and select markdown. And I'm going to copy this little line of text. So Markdown gives you the opportunity to just insert text or, write HTML, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I go ahead and push the play button and voila. You see it says, please see my code. The code will execute an arithmetic function. So now if I actually wanted to move this descriptive text above the code that I had just executed, I can do so by using the up and down arrows. And there we go. I just moved the descriptive text above the code that was executing some basic mathematic functions. So one of the great advantages of using Jupyter Notebooks is that it has the MathJax library, which will render LaTeX for you. And I'm just going to show you guys a little example of that. So if I select this cell here and I insert a cell below, and just so that I could remember, I'm going to double click here to view my HTML code. If you enter in $2 and make sure that your cell has markdown selected. So $2 and then type the letter that you would like displayed, like alpha or like beta. So \beta and then $2 and then hit the run button. It will go ahead and execute and render the mathematical notation of those letters. Oops. Let's see here. So just to give you guys another example, if you guys prefer to, use HTML, it's pretty easy to do. Again, you create a cell and you select Markdown. And in this case, I'm showing you guys an example of an HTML div with a green border, some little styling, and a link. So I've gone ahead and I can go and just copy the HTML code of my div and paste it into the cell and hit run, and there you go. There is a cute little HTML div with a little bit of green styling. So I also described that you could use videos. If you have instructional videos to go along with your documentation, it's very easy to insert videos into your IPython notebook. This particular little script is going to insert a YouTube video. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it in and hit the run button. And there we go. We have the top 10 cutest dog videos embedded in our IPython notebook. If you wanted to look at a particular YouTube video, all you got to do is use the query string parameter value of your YouTube video. So I believe the query string parameter is v equals, and then insert the query string parameter value here, and it will render that video of your choice. So if I went to YouTube and I wanted puppies, here it is. Oops. This is the query string parameter, the value that I'm referring to. Okay, so that's pretty handy. We already went over the saving of your notebooks and the downloading of your notebooks and the sharing of your notebooks. So I'm just going to show you guys some simple exercises to do with importing data. So in this exercise, we have a dogs.csv file in our GitHub, and I'm importing the CSV file and reading the first row. So I'm going to head, copy and paste the code, run the cell, and it's printing. Now it's printing the first row of my dogs.csv file, which happens to, first column, it's printing my first column, which happens to be all different dog breeds. So now I'm going to go ahead and perform another simple action, which is to count the number of rows. So I go ahead and read the CSV file and count the number of rows and print them out. And there are 1,019 rows in that CSV file. So the Pandas library is a very useful library which is available for creating data frames and doing all kinds of data manipulation. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to create a data frame with the Pandas library. So if we go ahead and again, you guys have access to this file in my GitHub. If you copy and paste the code into the cell, what it's going to do is it's going to read the dogs.csv file into a data frame. And now in this next step, what we're going to do is we're going to print the first 3 rows of that data frame. So copy and paste that in there, and voila. First 3 rows of the data frame, and as you can see, we have the 3 columns, breed, drive, and different activities. So just a little bit of a cleanup. We're going to go ahead and remove the or select breed to be the index column of the data frame. We really like dogs in my team, so as you can see, here we go. We have now removed that first column and made breed the index column of the data frame. So those are just a few little data importation and manipulation examples. I strongly encourage everyone to have a play around with Jupyter Notebooks. It's very flexible. It's very easy to get started with, and I have instructions here at the very beginning of the notebook on downloading Anaconda, and there's some great resources that we'll go ahead and email out to everyone as well. We have a gallery of interesting IPython notebooks that I encourage everyone to have a look through. There are many different fields that use Jupyter Notebooks, from linguistics to, psychology and machine learning and engineering. So lots of really good content there. And I'll also provide the links to some more interesting exercises, and perhaps some magic commands if you guys are interested in magic commands as well. It's a very flexible and easy to use tool, and Dave will be covering some more about Jupyter Notebooks in our next session. I believe we're going to look into loading data and doing classifications with scikit-learn. And as our team learns more and more about this great tool, we'll be presenting our findings and sharing the wealth of knowledge with everyone. So thank you all for your time. And I don't know if, Dave, do you want to say anything, or do you have any questions?
No, I think you covered it. And yes, that'll be the talk that we'll be doing next time, is loading your data, making some basic data science investigations using scikit-learn. So thank you for mentioning that.
Great. All right, folks, we'll send out an email with details and resources for everyone. And Amara, anything else?
Yeah, thanks, Carmen. So there's been a couple questions rolling in. I've tried to answer those as they've come in, but if there's any other questions out there, please use the tool, and I'll spend a couple of minutes on the line answering those. Looks like we have a question about Jupyter Notebooks in general. Can you link to a remote access like Amazon Web Services as well? Dave, do you know how you can host Jupyter Notebooks? I know they'll run like locally, like Carmen has here, or you can have them running on a server, but I'm not entirely sure that Jupyter has like a hosted version or instructions for hosted.
Well, I think there's 2 or 3 answers of that. You can, yeah. I mean, what's really cool about Jupyter is that you can set it up on your own laptop, and you're basically running it as if you have your own server on your laptop. And in that case, you're probably the only one who can get access to that unless you share the IP address with someone else. Of course, that's probably a temporary IP address that only is available while your laptop's running. But you can do the same thing on the server. So you can set up a virtual machine or a container up on a server on Amazon. You basically it sets up its own web server, and the IP address can be static, or relatively static at least, so that you can share those that Jupyter environment and your Jupyter Notebooks with others, and then they can collaborate with you. So that's really the exciting part. And then there's some projects that are being worked on that are more like a multi-tenant environment. I forget the name of it. I think like Jupyter Hub, something like that. I think Brian Granger over at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo is working on something along those lines where it's a multi-tenant environment. But I think that's sort of in beta. He recently gave a talk about that, and that's if you're looking at a shared environment for multiple people, that's probably the best way to go. So I would investigate that.
That'll be part of their Jupyter Labs work, is that correct?
That's what it's called, Jupyter Labs. Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me on that.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and get this wrapped up for today. Again, we are recording. It will be available out on our community, and our community link is community.trustedanalytics.org. And once this video renders, it will be out there and live almost immediately. So thanks for joining us today. We look forward to having you in our session December 15th. It looks like it will be a deeper dive into Jupyter Notebooks, but it will again be a part of our data science series. So if you registered once, which if you're hearing me talk now, you are already registered, you'll get information about that next session as well. But again, it'll be December 15th, same time, same place. All right, have a great day, and we hope to see you on our community. Thanks.